Firstly, inga mana, tēnā koutou, inga reo, tēnā koutou, inga iwi o te motu, tēnā koutou. So greetings everyone. I'm really here to speak about the Information Law and Policy Project. But first, a series of acknowledgements. It's interesting how at some of these events we kind of reminisce, and I was going to say, exactly the same to you, Blair, and we hadn't compared notes, but I was going to say the same too with John Edwards. I was meant to catch up with him about 10 years ago, June 2006, when we did the Genome Project. So we've been on and off talking about various issues since, but I'd like to acknowledge a whole lot of people in the room. There's the guru or supremo of privacy, Tim. I've met the man himself today. There are other Auckland University colleagues. Gehan, it's good to see you here, and in Wellington as well. Katrin and various guises. Look forward to working with him in the future. I think Annabelle was here, but Paul Roth as well from Otago. But quite a few people. We've done various things over the years, and it's quite good to see how things have evolved. But so firstly, onto the New Zealand Law Foundation. It's an independent charitable organisation that's involved with funding legal research, actually the only one in the country that focuses on legal research, or we shall say research that has legal and policy components. Now, we often take pains to point out to people that it is not the Law Commission, it is not the Law Society, and it's not the Legal Research Foundation that's based out here at the Auckland Law Faculty. So essentially 5 things that I'd like to cover very quickly, and I can make this really short. The Law Foundation funds research that is for New Zealand benefit. That's the main focus. And it must have a legal component that extends to policy and regulatory considerations. And then secondly, with the Information Law and Policy Project, there are really about 6 elements. And I put up on the slide there, really thanks, prompted by the camera, that's something nice for you to look at, but there's also the Law Foundation website, and you'll find all this information that I'm talking about here. But I'll just emphasize a few things. Firstly, it is independent legal thinking that we are funding. It serves the public good, not any vested public interest, not any vested interest, but the public good. The research has to be collaborative. It's across disciplines, institutions, sectors, and it should combine academia, government, industry, business, NGOs, and community groups. It has also got to have practical application. It's got to be future focused, and then just 2 things. It values privacy. So we're interested in research that look at how privacy is or will be affected or protected in the digital age, but we're not as interested in terms of emphasis in solely about the concept of privacy or about privacy per se. And then the next thing is it's got to have an economic emphasis, with aspects particular to New Zealand. So what is ILAP, or the Information Law and Policy Project? Essentially, there's 7 research themes, and I'm happy to talk about them outside this conference. So I'll summarize them very briefly. The first is we're interested in research that looks into the global nature of data, how data is managed and how we trade with it. Secondly, cybersecurity, cybercrime issues, what capabilities are needed for New Zealand. Thirdly, social impact of technology and how the law should respond to that. Fourthly, ownership and exploitation, principally about how citizens can control information about themselves. Fifth, really about democracy, constitutional rights, and the state in the digital age. The impact of information technology on governance, governing, and what does it all mean. Sixth, we're interested in the ethics of inference, which is a very interesting phrase that we came up with. I Googled actually just to see who else is using this phrase, but there's only one other reference and not quite in this context. But essentially it's a focus on the algorithmic decision making and all the other flow-on effects from that. And lastly, that's the 7th research theme. It is about the exclusionary aspects of technology. How can we improve the accessibility of our citizens, and particularly our small and medium enterprises, in unlocking the benefits of technology? So just a couple of things to wrap it up. Looking ahead, we've got a deadline really about 10 weeks away, 24th February. There are 3 more quarterly rounds this year. Interested applicants need to discuss with me well in advance of submitting any proposals. That's because we've got to tick a few boxes, and really we're wanting to see that collaboration and all those aspects that I mentioned to you before. Your applications would be assessed by an advisory review committee, so I'd like to take you, talk to you about that process if you're interested in applying. We're keen particularly to see research in the areas of trade, business, commerce, or the economy, and health. Those are the 2 big areas. We've already awarded research grants for work on blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. That's a piece of work that's being led out by Alex Sims here. And you may hear about the announcement, maybe today on the website, or it's been formalized just as of yesterday. 3 studies. There's an overarching study on regulating for new technology in the digital age. There's a study on smart contracts, and there's another one, quite a big one, on artificial intelligence and the law. And then related to all of that, we've just recently awarded to our international research fellow on the basis of work that will be done on research dealing with driverless vehicles. So there are $2 million in the pot currently for funding. In the festive spirit of giving. We're about 10 days away from Christmas. I think it was Ellie from Plunkett. We had a quick catch up over coffee, and I said, we're giving money away. So, well, in a sense, for research funding. So we've got, we've already given about $250,000. We've got about 3/4 of that left, $1.5 million. And I'm available after this symposium if you want to talk to me further, or we can walk the talk and do it digitally. Cheers. Thank you.